Hey guys, John here. Welcome to my markets review series where we analyze Bitcoin, the S&P 500, and gold. Now, before we get started, I want to remind you guys that this video is brought to you by and sponsored by PrimeXBT, where they offer leverage trading on all different types of assets, including the S&P 500, gold, currencies, and even Bitcoin. So go check them out, guys. And with that said, let's get started. What's going on, everybody? So before we get started, I'd like to say if you want to use the indicators I'll be using in this video and in my prior videos, you can find them at tradingalpha.io-v. That's our volatility indicators. And next week, we will also be adding the color trend bars that you see in all my videos, along with the strength and weakness signals. Okay, so this is the macro chart of Bitcoin. It is on a log scale, but you can see that we've been in a channel ever since 2013. Here's the highs of the channel. Here's the lows of the channel. You know, each were touched quite a few times. Currently, though, we have just gone over the midpoint, which is always a bullish signal. We can kind of target now the upper end of the channel, which is kind of scary because if you project that just, let's say, 3 months out to the upper end of the channel, you're looking at about $135,000. Okay, if you go even further out, if you say that this goes all the way to, let's say, October, then we're looking at $180,000. And this isn't too scary to think, guys, because Bitcoin can very easily 2 to 3x from here. There's a lot of bullish sentiment, not only in the retail space, but also in the institutional space, and they seem to be driving one another. So with that said, let's get into some lower time frames. We'll go from the monthly chart to the weekly chart. And here you can see some of our indicators, but it's also just to tell you what's going on in Bitcoin. I mean, there's not too much to be said other than this is the parabolic move that we've seen in 2017. You can see here we had a volatility squeeze with our long signal right at $12,000. And I'm assuming that when this goes into consolidation, we'll see more of these signals on the daily. But so far, the strength has been so great that we've gone through a squeeze breakout. We've had some more signs of strength. This is what I'll be adding next week, along with these color bars. But you can see that this is just melting up. Okay, this is doing a great job. And again, this is our RSI indicator. And I'm pointing this out because it is so valuable. You can see that whenever the orange line crosses over the other two lines and stays above it is a great time to go long. And then conversely, whenever it crosses below it is a great time to get out and wait for another break to the upside from the other two lines. Okay. So that's always a great indicator, and you can find that in our confirmation suite on the website. But on the weekly chart, we're looking great. I mean, there's not too much to be said. We're approaching $55,000. My short-term target is 60K. I think we'll get there in no time. Let's go ahead and go down to the daily chart. Okay, on the daily chart, you can see here the same thing has happened. We just have some more, obviously, volatility going down to a lower time frame. But you can look here that it started with these volatility squeezes. We're in a stage 1 basing, which is a sideways consolidation over here. Okay, so we're just playing some moves. These are pretty large moves, but the real move started once we broke out from this level. So we kind of wicked above right there. Everyone got kind of excited. You saw there's signs of strength right there, and then it lost a little bit of faith. Went into another volatility squeeze, and this is where the move actually started. This was enough to get us just above the move. It didn't break down after that. It broke right above it afterwards. Tested it as it usually does a breakout. Now, when you have classical technical analysis, you normally buy on these breakouts with half your bag that you're trying to position into, and then your other half on a good reaction from the retest, which is classically just what we got, right? You only get the breakouts before these happen, but after that happens, this is what classically what people look for, is this actual retest was really classical. So if we go and let's just look at this chart by itself. Oops, right there. We can see that afterwards we went into a full-blown uptrend. We had some more strength right here, which showed us it didn't really collapse that much. It started to go into another sideways channel, at which we broke out to the upside again after some squeeze action, right? And then you have the potential breakout and the confirmed breakout. And, now we're almost $5,000 higher. Okay, so that's it on the actual 4-hour chart. And then if you go ahead and you get the indicators, it's the same thing if you're scalping, right? As long as the orange bar goes above the other two darker color bars, you're in an uptrend. It's good confirmation. And yeah, it's been glorious to be a Bitcoin trader. So I tell you what, let's move on to some Ethereum. See what's happening on an Ethereum chart. And excuse me for having to take all these boxes off. Okay, so Ethereum, I actually like the weekly chart. I'm sorry, the daily chart, but this is a weekly chart. You can see that we've been in a stage 1 basing right here on the lower time frames, although these were stage 2 uptrends that you could have caught if you were a swing or scalp trader, right? This is on a weekly chart, actually. This is not scalp trading, sorry, swing trading or investing, right? Mostly swing trading, and this is where you have your investment move right here, your investment arm, okay? So we went into this is called a stage 1 basing. Once it broke out, we had a stage 2 that had the retest, just like we did on the lower time frame chart. And after that, we broke through our last resistance, which actually initiated the powerful stage 2 parabolic uptrend. And now if we go down to the daily chart, this is actually what I like the best to define what's going on in Ethereum. And here you can see this is what I've been playing, and you have this channel where it's had multiple touches to the upside and also to the downside, right? And of course this is crypto, so it's not going to be a clean touch. Sometimes it's going to wick above or just below as they try and stop hunt. But I'm very, very bullish on Ethereum as well. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, I am very, very bullish on. I like the majors. There's less risk involved. Of course, if you guys are playing low caps, small caps, there is more profit potential, but with profit potential comes risk as well. I can tell you that all the institutions are looking at Bitcoin and just now Ethereum. I think we all heard the news about Michael Saylor having that, that meeting with 2,000 other companies trying to teach them not only how to onboard Bitcoin, but what Bitcoin is all about, and why they shouldn't miss out and get in pretty soon. And a week later we're looking at 55,000. So we can go ahead and look at some Litecoin. Now Litecoin looks absolutely beautiful. As you can see, I've outlined here a cup and handle pattern that it has completed. And this is on the weekly chart. But if you want to get even more bullish, you can go to the monthly chart, and you'll see that we actually have performed a double bottom with the completion of the double bottom breakout as well. So yeah, Litecoin looks absolutely phenomenal. I think this cup and handle pattern is going to really play out well. And if you look at the all-time highs, we have not even broken all-time highs yet, and there's a lot of room to go, just like there was in Ethereum when Ethereum was lagging on Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and switch down to the daily chart. And again, you can see my ugly cup and handle pattern here. Let's get rid of that. Okay, and you can see here I've defined here basically a channel with your resistance and support. And once we broke above the resistance with a strength indication, we were off to the races. And looks like it's not letting off anytime soon. Even though Bitcoin has showed some dominance today, Litecoin is still pretty strong, and it's kind of sticking here between this little support here that it's built. So Litecoin also looks phenomenal. Let's switch to the S&P 500. So here is my weekly chart for the S&P 500. Let me go ahead and take some of this off. And while I'm doing this, notice that we have a ascending wedge on the right-hand side. And these are always patterns that I have no belief in, but it's just very interesting to watch them. We actually had this on Bitcoin as well, and it did the same thing where it just it didn't make any sense of the ascending wedge, and it broke to the upside and not the downside. That's why these are always very unreliable patterns to play, but I did outline it because it was very interesting. So if you remember my narrative last week on the S&P 500 is that the Fed's going to keep printing money and that the stock market is going to just melt up. And that's, what we have seen here. Now, if we go ahead and pull the other indicators up, I just want to show you how you could have played this move as well. Very simple. Here we have a thrust bar to the upside. It's the biggest bar that we have. And we'll also have a orange RSI bar climbing above the other two lines, just like we had in Bitcoin. And whenever you have this happen and it climbs above the other two lines, it's a good risk versus reward to get in. And then obviously it went below here, and you would have got out here just before the crash as well, right? So I'm just trying to show you how to play this on a weekly chart. It is why I like my higher time frame charts, because they're a lot easier to decipher, and they're a lot easier to be profitable on, right? Again, here is another pattern that I talk about in the wick thrusts. This is when you have alternating bars, and especially orange. This shows a change of powers. This is where the institutions were short, and then they switched to long. Their bias completely changed. So alternating powers, big orange bars up, and also clusters as well. Clusters of red or green are also a bullish signal. So again, here we have a change of powers, and you can see that this is starting to melt up with another change of powers right there. This is really looking good. Even though we had this ascending triangle, it could not hold the break to the downside. This is still melting up. None of my narrative has changed on the stock market. Let's go to the daily chart. So again, we have this, ascending wedge that I was kind of watching. We had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches. So 3 touches constitutes a pattern or a trend line. Same thing to the downside, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this was valid, but again, these are low probability patterns. I more so point this out to teach people that they should never rely on these patterns. If anything, it tells you that a squeeze setup of ours is coming up. And again, what is a squeeze? That's when volatility builds up. It's about to break to the downside or the upside, and those arrows kind of give you the signal as to which way it's going to break. And here we had another one that broke to the upside. Okay, and then also these color bars as well. This is what's going to be the trending indicator that we will be releasing to everyone next week. But the stocks still look bullish. You can see that we've gone into a green uptrend as the bars have now turned from red to green after that little collapse here. And I still think that this is going to melt upwards. So with that said, we can move on to silver. Okay, looking at silver on a weekly chart with my levels from the previous video. You can see here, everything's kind of defined. We have been stuck between this range. If you remember my last video, I was saying that I would like to see a break not only of this resistance, but also this resistance before we kind of get a little bit more bullish, and that I didn't like the overhead, all the overhead resistance that lie right above us. So again, since then, we have kind of gone in a channel, that was only a week ago, but we have stayed in this channel. We're kind of in no man's land right here. If we bring up some other clues as to what's happening, you can see here we did get our strongest thrust bar of institutional buying right above here, and we did kind of tag that resistance. We couldn't close above it, and that day we lost a lot of confidence. And since that orange bar, we really haven't seen much institutional action at all, right? And I think that's why this kind of just hovered here. I think this was the basically the retailers pushing in the silver squeeze, right, is what happened over here on the weekly chart. So if we want to go ahead and go to the daily chart of silver, we can get some more short-term kind of action and a little bit of prediction of what's going to lie ahead. So I would like us to see us break not only this resistance, but the resistance above it. You can see that we broke this resistance, closed above it, but we were not able to close above that one. And shortly after, we couldn't even hold this resistance. So we're stuck in this little range here. I can't get bullish on silver. If it touches the lower channel, even then, I don't think I can get bullish on silver. I would like to see it break above this resistance to give us some clear sight of what might lie ahead. So if you look here on the RSI, it did go above it, right? And this was a little entry to go long. But it fell shortly after, and this again was the move from the silver squeeze. And since then, we haven't had any real action on the daily as far as the institutions are concerned. We had a little bit of profit taking here and a little bit of profit taking here, but since then, they really have not been that active on the daily chart. So again, I'm not bullish on silver yet. I mean, the macro narrative is there with the printing and everything like that, but it just seems that we're not having much interest. So I'm neutral to bearish on silver. And that wraps it up, guys. So I'll tell you what, again, if you're interested in any of these indicators, go to tradingalpha.io-v. And if you want to hear more of these videos, please hit and subscribe to the channel. Also check out PrimeXBT. They are the guys that allow me to do more of these this charting. So go sign up there if you want to follow through with any of my ideas on your own accord. Not professional advice, but PrimeXBT will be giving you guys a 50% deposit bonus if you use the code that is in my info. In the info. With that said, guys, I'll catch y'all next week, and I hope everyone makes a ton of cash. Bye-bye.